Today we're at the silicone manufacturer checking out the wrist rest project. The wrist rest project is something we've been working on for a while, but ever since Kevin joined the team, it's been going really fast. And then why we're at the silicone manufacturer is because our wrist rest is a silicone wrist rest, a full silicone wrist rest. So here I have the first sample in packaging of the silicone wrist rest that we're making. Let's take a look at the wrist rest and unpack it here. So here you can see what is the semi-final packaging. The print is not the final yet, but the packaging is pretty much what it will be on the end. So you can see that the outside is what we call craft paper. So that's kind of like this nice carton looking paper. Then here we have some textuals and graphics, but here is like the real killer. Okay, here we have a tearing strip. So when you receive the product, instead of opening it through here or breaking something, you instead have here a little lip you can tear open. This is a full silicone wrist rest. So this is a one block of silicone. So when we turn around the wrist rest, you can see there's a really nice pattern here. Let me flip this around. Now this is what we call the Cairo pattern, and it's a very special pattern because if you look closely, you can see there's a pentagon shape, but actually if you take another closer look, you can see there's a pentagon hole here, but you take these four pentagon shapes together, you have a whole pentagon shape here. But we have it both horizontally, but also vertically. On one side, it looks like there's chaos, but actually there is absolute order in the whole pattern. Well, the reason why we chose for silicone is because silicone is a balance between having a hard surface, but still a soft touch. The problem with a lot of wrist vests is that when you rest your wrists on it, they have too much cushioning, meaning that your wrist will drop into the wrist rest and provide too much cushioning and therefore very little support for your hands. Now with silicone, however, it's kind of like having a harder surface but still having a soft touch to it. We figured that a big surface area helps the comfort of the wrist rest because no matter if you have small hands or big hands, you have enough space to rest your whole wrist but also your palms on the wrist rest. Unfortunately, this keyboard doesn't have all the keycaps. We're now at the factory area where the silicone products are made. So we're going to take a look at how the wrist rest is made. So we're going to start here at the raw material up to the production, and then we have a final product. So let's take a look first at the silicone material. So here we have the raw material, silicone material. And it's this kind of like glue substance is how I would describe it. Maybe when you were younger, you would like grab that cheap glue and press it all out, let it dry, and then you would take it out and like chew it and press it around, right? It has that same structure and same feeling. So this is the raw silicone material. What they do here also is the color mixing. So they take the raw silicone material and then they also take a silicone, or they'll take a color pigment, which is a very, very, very pure pigment of the color, in this case that we're looking for, made out of silicone. But the thing is, it's so pure, you can mix it with the raw material together. And to do the mixing, we have a machine behind us, which is basically two big rollers that press material together. The last step where they're packaging a sheet of the silicone material. Now the material is sliced in equal portions so they can make sure they use an equal amount of material for the product.
That's how the raw material is made. Now let's take a look at the production process of this same raw material. So here behind me, but it's very loud, so I'm taking a little bit of a distance here. The raw material is molded into its shape, and this is now a tubular shape. So let's take a close look how it's made.
The factory area was so loud that I couldn't do any audio recording while we're there. But in front of you can see the curing machine, which is basically an oven. So first you see a metal block on the bottom. The guy's putting in the raw material. That metal block goes into the oven and the raw material will melt into the mold shape. This is called the curing process. After multiple minutes, the curing is done and the metal block comes out, and it can take out the finished product. Depending on the size and the complexity of the product, it can take a long time for the curing to finish. I was told by the factory owner that they've never made such a big product like our wrist rest before, and from their testing, it would take about 20 to 25 minutes before the curing process is done. Now you can imagine that this is the biggest bottleneck when it comes to mass producing the product, and you can't produce many quantities in a single day. After this process, the product goes through a little bit of polishing, removing the edge lines and maybe adding a coating to the silicone, and then it's done.